In the 1970s, the village of West Dundee was a sleepy area, sitting on the outskirts of Chicago with less than 3,500 residents. But in 1980, that would all change. For West Dundee, that year would become known as the Year of the Mall.
Now at 4:30, the Spring Hill Mall is officially closing in suburban West Dundee.
They've had a lot of vacancies. It's sat nearly empty for years. The village of West Dundee bought the property, and Courtney Sisk today talked to leaders about their future plans.
The Spring Hill Mall in West Dundee was once a bustling spot built in 1980 on 100 acres of land, but today, it's a scarce scene and the latest victim in the growing decline of standard shopping malls, announcing a permanent closure next month. The village of West Dundee bought the property for $7 million after spending $3.25 million to buy the Sears and Macy's storefronts. The mall will officially close its doors on March 22nd. That's when the village of West Dundee is likely to acquire the property.
It didn't come as a surprise at all. In fact, we anticipated it.
West Dundee Mayor Chris Nelson says the only businesses that will stay are the Cinemark Theater and the Kohl's, which is separately owned. Everything else needs to vacate by the March deadline. The current owners, New York-based Kohan Retail Investment Group, issued this statement to NBC5, expressing gratitude to everyone part of their journey and eagerness to see what the future holds.
We're going to try to reformat the area. There's a term everybody's using these days, mixed use. We're certainly aiming for that.
Nelson says they'd like to see a strong residential component with roads and sidewalks to create a neighborhood feel.
The infrastructure's here, and there's a whole town around it. It's established. We're near the expressway. We've got 2 county roadways adjacent to it. So, I mean, there's a really solid base here.
Demolition will start in 12 to 18 months, and with each new chapter comes the end to another.
Really sad. Kind of, because I grew up coming here as a kid, and that's kind of why we were all here today, just kind of go one last time.
Our job here is to be a stakeholder for the community and see to it that it's redeveloped in a positive way.
Reporting in West Dundee, Courtney Sisk, NBC5 News.
If you know Ruin Road, you know we value our privacy. In our personal life, it's not always easy to maintain. Whether we know it or not, sites will mine our data like full name, email, health records, and more, which they will sell to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who wants to snoop. That's why we started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our personal information and automatically submits opt-out requests on our behalf. This not only reduces the amount of spam you'll get, but protects against hackers who can use this information to gain access to our social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also provides a ton of other features bundled into one easy-to-use app at an affordable price. You get antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without needing to bother with different apps. We all have one or more of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know how often that happens. Like 24-hour security, motion sensors, and guard dogs, Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping my info safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Relaxing. Ruin Road values our privacy, and we also value yours. Go to aura.com/ruinroad to start a free 2-week trial, also linked below in the description. $7 p.m. Yeah. 1 hour before the mall would close permanently, we arrived for a final walkthrough, joined by at least 100 others wanting to get photos, cause chaos, and grab last-minute deals. Plans for the Spring Hill Mall date back to 1973, and soon 250 acres of former evergreen tree nursery were purchased and leveled for the 1.2 million square foot development. Developed by a subsidiary company of Sears and Roebuck, the mall opened October 1st, 1980 to 40,000 visitors. The ribbon cutting was hosted by DJ Wally Phillips and accompanying music by the Dundee Scots. A special mold was commissioned for the mall by Hager Potteries that featured the mall logo and its grand opening date, the limited edition item given to local dignitaries and mall store representatives. Marshall Field's grand opening featured Wandering Mimes, a performance by Chicago singer Kathy Ford, signings by Bears players Revy Sori and Vince Evans, and drawings for a color TV, gift cards, and a new 1981 Ford Escort. Sears had Winnie the Pooh and Tigger wandering around, and the first 1,000 children received Pooh plush dolls, while 1980's Miss Illinois had a signing at the fashion counter. WLS DJ Larry Lujak made an appearance at the Rogers Jeweler store. Bergner Wise would open as the third anchor in 1981, followed by J.C. Penney's in 1983, Joseph Spice in 1984, and finally Main Street Department Store in 1986. Carson's had been in talk to also open an anchor but backed out, eventually filling a vacant anchor space in 1990. The concourse was designed to be a garden-like atmosphere with a, quote, orchard of trees, winding stream, parquet floors, and a wooden ceiling accentuated with skylights. The first few months were packed with shows, concerts, a circus, and of course, Santa Claus. But rumors had begun spreading of attacks at the mall, all based on a single incident where a masked man slashed at a woman in the Sears parking lot. Perhaps the rumors were spread by those in town who had been against the mall, a small group even taking a case to court to halt construction fearing their taxes would raise. But a year after opening, no such thing had happened, and the mall held their first anniversary celebration with a giant birthday cake, clowns, and magic shows. Back in March that year, 100 contestants of the 1981 Miss Illinois Beauty Pageant appeared for the most photogenic section of that pageant, and it was filmed for WGN-TV. Beginning in 1981, the mall held an annual spring auction where people could earn bidding tokens with every purchase made inside the mall, then use them to bid on items such as vacations to the Caribbean, a fox fur coat, jacuzzi, microwave oven, and much more. Another parking lot incident had happened a month prior when a woman was abducted from the Marshall Fields lot and her husband was given a $7,000 ransom note. 25 FBI agents joined local police and apprehended Lloyd Albeck and Peggy Talbot, receiving 10 and 4 years respective jail time for the crime. The mall held a regular series of performances each Sunday in their center court, titled Sunday in the Garden, and still held regular contests throughout the year, such as the Star Meals Contest, where if you purchased a meal in the food court and received a special Star Wars plate, you won a ticket to the premiere of The Return of the Jedi. The Spring Hill Strollers Mall Walker Club kept a logbook near the J.C. Penney entrance, and once walkers logged 100 miles, they would receive a t-shirt from the American Heart Association. The mall also held a monthly Senior Citizens Day with free coffee and donuts, medical tests, and various talks by healthcare professionals. Crime returned to the mall parking lot in 1987 when a man entered the car of a woman, ordered her to drive to a remote area, sexually assaulted her, and then drove her back to the mall. This saw an increase in the mall's escort service for store employees, where security guards chaperoned them to their cars each night. However, patrols for regular shoppers were not increased. In 1989, a man stealing sunglasses from Kohl's would shove a security officer down and proceed to fight with 2 other officers before being caught. In 1990, the mall began offering a babysitting service for shoppers. If you provided sales receipts totaling $100 or more, the service was free. The following year, a $6 million renovation began, enlarging and remodeling a third of the 140 stores, while the original earth and tone concourse was brightened with the current lighter tiles, white ceilings, and new entrances. For its reopening, the mall held a 10-day event called a Sallybration, named after a custom porcelain doll created especially for the event. In 1987, a giving tree was started for the holiday season, where shoppers could pick an angel off the tree and purchase the item written on it for someone less fortunate. The tree was so successful, by 1995 it was noted that over 40,000 gifts had been purchased. That year, the food court finished its own renovations, bumping it up to seating for 540, as well as a more intimate section for around 75 diners in a new area near the JCPenney store. In 1998, the mall was sold for $124 million to General Growth Properties, a real estate trust who had managed the mall for almost 3 years at that point. The following year, 300 tons of sand were brought into the concourse for a Star Wars-themed sand sculpture exhibit, which raised over $20,000 for local schools. In 2002 saw the most successful year for the Giving Tree, with over 7,000 gifts purchased, bringing the overall total to 125,000 purchased items. 2004 was a big year for the mall. First, a jewelry store was robbed of around $118,000 of pieces while 2 women distracted the workers. In March, Avril Lavigne held a concert at the mall to over 3,000 screaming teens, but people found themselves overheated, unable to see, and confused on how to exit the show, leaving many disappointed. As the nearby Algonquin Center opened, Spring Hill announced renovations for the following year, creating new exterior entrances to the stores, and yet again renovating the center court to the one seen here for a cost of $7.5 million. 2 men would be arrested after non-fatally shooting another man in the Kohl's parking lot in 2008. 6 months later, a fight broke out in another section of the parking lot, leaving 2 boys with stab wounds and another 2 beaten. Despite maintaining a high occupancy rate, in 2009, General Growth would file for bankruptcy. Their 200 malls would continue to operate and were sectioned off in various new portfolios in 2011. In that same year, a man would get 8 years prison time after he entered the mall's Bath & Body Works store and stabbed his ex-girlfriend with a 7-inch long military bayonet. In 2013, an episode of the Food Network TV show Food Court Wars was filmed at the mall, where 2 food truck owners were pitted against each other. The one who made the most profit winning a space in the food court rent-free for a year. But the winner was less than thrilled about the reality of a space in a dying mall, giving an interview where he bemoans watching people choose Sbarro's over his gourmet taco-in-a-bag restaurant, as well as the lack of customers, only 3 in an hour during their interview. As more and more tenants vacated, a $40 million renovation plan was approved in 2015, leveling the food court and now vacant JCPenney store, replacing it with Cinemark theaters. The rest of the mall was planned to be converted into an open-air shopping center, and entertainment and dining pavilion were to be added, neither of which came to fruition. But the slight uptick was not enough to keep Spring Hill afloat, and in 2021, Cohan Retail Group purchased the mall after Macy's and Barnes & Noble both vacated, leaving just Kohl's and Cinemark as the final 2 anchors. West Dundee officials were worried their mall would turn into one like so many others when the first tax payment came late, and they would purchase the mall from Cohan in 2023 for a total of $10 million. In February the following year, all tenants except for Kohl's and Cinemark were served eviction notices, as demolition of the mall was planned to begin later that year to convert the property into a mixed-use residential area. The plans will not be complete for around a decade, but on March 22, 2024, at 7 p.m., the last group of sightseers and shoppers were ushered out the doors for the final time.